I've gotten all these 9, no, not 9, sorry, 4, 8, 12 guys pause at the same point in time in their delivery. And that is as soon as the front foot has hit the ground, which we call this position front foot strike. And right when the foot hits the ground, right when the foot hits the ground, right when the foot hits the ground, and so on. So that's where all of these different guys are at this current time, is front foot strike position. We can kind of see that there are some universal things that every pitcher, no matter the size, what handed, arm slot, what it may be, that we want to try to get to, some checkpoints. One is at front foot strike is the very first time that our hand, our throwing hand, has flipped up, or the hand has gotten above the elbow. And at this point in time, we're looking for the ball to be facing the same direction our chest is. So for lefties, that'd be ball facing first base. Righty, that'd be balls facing third base. We're also looking for our glove to be about like percentage wise, depending on how big of a path your glove took. We're like 70-80% of the way with that glove in its finish. And as we can see here, every one of these guys' gloves is within its body, within their body, right? Within their body. Maybe the elbow's outside, but the glove is within the body. The glove is within the body. Another thing we can see is with a lot of these guys is that we can still see the baseball at front foot strike on their backside, on their backside, on their backside. Still slightly on the backside with Cueto. Same with Charlie Morton down there. Another thing that we can see is belt buckles. I see a whole lot of belt buckles facing us, the target, the catcher. And in order for that to occur, we need the back hip to have been driven forward. All right, we need the back hip, the back hips to start to come forward. And in order for the back hip to come forward, we need to have driven off of our back foot. We need to have driven off our back foot through our big toe, through the big toe, through the big toe, through the big toe. We're not lifting the heel up off the ground. We're like folding the foot over. Imagining that our base of our foot has Velcro on it and we're stuck to another sticky side of Velcro. And we're going to peel our foot off by taking like the outside of our foot and peeling it forward, which then helps bring our knee in, which helps rotate our knee and our foot, and our hip then gets to go forward. So you kind of take that thought process and see how he's kind of peeling it off the ground while thinking, keep my big toe on the ground so everything can fold over my big toe. Over my big toe. And when it gets over the big toe, that's when we can start to see the back hip. And if we do that with Reggie, can't see the back foot as well. Okay, here we go. I can see it better here. He's trying to peel it off the ground. Peel it off the ground through what? Through that big toe. And here comes that back hip. Here comes that back hip. Here comes that back hip into front foot strike. Who else's foot can we see? Okay, we can see Ramon's. Same thing. He's trying to peel that foot off the ground, not lift the heel up, but he's trying to keep the heel on the ground for as long as possible. So then he can roll over the big toe, which then brings that back hip forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Back hip starting to come forward. Keuchel, same thing. Peeling that back foot off the ground folding over the front toe, which brings that back hip forward. Chapman's one of the best at it. Boom. 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 All right. So on and so forth. Every one of these guys has their own delivery, their own leg lift, their own stride, but we can see how very similar that back foot drive process is. That's the movement we have to do with the back foot in order to get the shin, knee, thigh, and all the bones in there to move in a specific way that then pushes that back hip forward. That then pushes that back hip forward. Pushes that back hip forward. Okay? From there, we can see that the stride direction is very different from one another, right? Like we have like Sanchez, Ramon, Familia, all very similar positions with their stride. And then you got guys like Crawford, Chapman, Keuchel, who are kind of more slightly like this front foot's going towards like and lined up with like their back foot's toes, where like Sanchez, Ramon, and Familia's front foot is lined up with like their back foot's heel. And then you got guys who are even more extreme than that, where like Arrieta, Nathan Evaldi, Joe Kelly, Johnny Cueto, and Charlie Morton, where their front foot is striding in front of their back foot's front toe. So for the righties, third base side of their front or the back toe. So what's going to happen now, because each of these guys have all gotten the back hip to come through, all of their upper bodies are relatively in very similar positions, but their front feet are all in different spots. Like these three, same spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, same spot. And then, excuse me, these guys in their own spots. So like class 1, class 2, and then class 3, if we call it that. So what we have to think about now is all of the rotational energy of that back hip coming forward and this front hip opening up. That's rotation energy. All of the energy of that back foot driving us forward into that stride, into front foot strike, driving energy back from the backside to the front side, driving energy from the backside to the front side, driving energy from the backside to the front side. That's a linear energy. So we need to take that linear energy and that rotational energy that our lower half has gone through, and now we need to send it up to our upper half as quickly as we can, so that way as our upper half is going through its rotational energy, it can be fed that lower half's energy. So then the upper half can work even faster, even smoother, even more stress-free on the arm to produce maximum amount of power. So if we watch the guys that have the knee, or the stride rather, in the very same position, so Sanchez, Ramon, and Familia, if we watch, their knee is not going to move hardly at all to the glove side, to the glove side. It's just going to pretty much lock out, which allows that back shoulder to come forward, which allows that, which then allows the back shoulder to come forward. Which allows the back shoulder to come forward. Now you have the guys where the knee is slightly like across the body or in front of the body, like the Crawford. We will see as he rotates, the knee will slightly roll out, but then it'll quickly stop and lock out the same way these legs locked out. So Crawford is going to start to swivel out a little bit, and now it's not going to swivel no more. And it's going to just lock out so the back shoulder can rotate energy down and out in front. The same way. So Keuchel, we said, was in the same similar situation. We'll see his front knee slightly roll out. There's that slight roll out from there to there, but now it's going to lock out the rest of the way. Boom, 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 boom. We might see a slight little roll out here on Lester. Nope, it just held the whole time until it locked out. Chapman is probably not going to roll out at all. It's going to just lock out from there. Boom. Oh, little roll out, but then locked out from there. Okay, now the guys that have the far stride across their body, who are what people would say they're striding across their body or throwing across their body. Watching what the knee does there, just stays in place. It's just locking out, and then his body comes through that leg or around that leg. Same thing, locking out, and then the body's coming around that leg or through the leg. Joe Kelly, just locking out, and then coming through that leg or around that leg. Cueto is just staying. Oh, that doesn't go much further. Sorry. Wish I would have known that. Charlie Morton doesn't go anywhere, just locks out. So you can rotate around it or through it. Okay, so with those thoughts in mind about the things we're looking for at front foot strike and what that then allows our body to do after while we throw the baseball, we will then get you guys into your front foot or show you what you guys look like at your front foot strike position after one more time of getting to see again what these positions look like at front foot strike, which again is the moment that front leg or your stride leg, your leg lift leg makes contact with the ground. So there's front foot strike again. Glove by body. Looking to have arm back behind head, if not even to behind our back. We're looking to see belt buckle and most importantly, that back hip coming forward or through. The reason it's come forward or through is because the back foot has turned over and rotated and driven away or peeled away from the pitching rubber. And then we want to make sure that that front knee, when it lands, the position it's in, depending on where the front foot lands, if it's straight in front, like tier 1 over here, like we said, then it just locks out. Locks out. If it's in like the tier but next to that, then it can roll out a little bit, but then it's got to lock out from there. And we notice that it always locked out and stopped moving and stabilized. It rolled a little bit, It rolled a little bit, then it stabilized. And look, the ball still hasn't even came from behind his head yet. By the time it stabilized, and now it's just locking out, locking out, locking out. Or if we're way across our body, we have to just straight lock it out from there and really make sure that we can get that back hip to keep continuing to come through. Keep continuing to come through. It's a little fun tongue twister. Make sure it keeps coming through. Make sure the back hip keeps coming through if we're getting our stride across our body. Again, there's nothing wrong with throwing across our body. We just got to make sure that that hip can keep coming through. Switching to the side view of everything. And we're just going to first start again with looking at the front foot strike position. So this is, again, the moment in time when trying in, front foot makes contact with the ground. And same thing with AJ over here. Excuse me. Once that front foot gets settled on the ground and the knee braces that weight, and we can see that back foot position and how it's driven away from the rubber. How that back foot is driving away from the rubber, which pushes that back hip forward, which pushes that back hip forward at foot strike, forward at foot strike. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. We can also notice at front foot strike that the glove is finished or finishing, and we're looking for that, like that 90-ish degree being, this is the time that the ball is facing the same direction as your chest. So righty's ball at third, lefty's ball facing first. Belt buckle's turned over. And then we'll watch as we go through the throwing motion how this front knee is going to brace itself. It's going to lock out. It's going to stabilize. It's going to block, whatever term you like to think or categorize it as. But that leg goes from a bend to no bend, from a bend to no bend, in order to help get all that energy that the lower body created and send it up into the arm and not allow it to stay down here in the knee and go forward or roll out. This is what allows us to throw the baseball down and out in front as we rotate around. And that's what allows us to rotate down, out in front and around through release. But we got to be able to start feeling ourselves really getting down. Really getting ourselves down at release and out in front with this forward trunk tilt. Our trunk is from our shoulders to our hips. This mass of our body we call our trunk. We want to be taking our trunk at foot strike is usually pretty close to up and down, and then we got to use our trunk to accelerate this throw down and out in front. When that foot lands in ground at front foot strike, we're usually more up and down. We need to use that trunk to send that ball down and out in front. Next two examples. Oop, I didn't get Chapman at front foot strike yet. My bad. Okay, so if we watch this back foot, how it's just going to drive away from that rubber. Heel's not trying to come up in the air, it's just trying to turn over. What are we turning over? We're turning over the big toe. Watch this little piece of toe here that's in the bright, in the light. Should turn over. It folds over. The crease in the shoe is folding over that big toe so we can drive through it. And that's the movement that gets this back hip to go forward. That's what finally gets the pelvis to start to rotate forward. Gloves finishing, 90-ish degree angle, belt buckle, back hips coming through. Over here, watch that back foot. Through the big toe, through the big toe, through the big toe. Also noticing how long this back knee is staying back. Noticing how long this back knee is staying back and not constantly going in, down, 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 down as his body's going out. Because if that's the case, his weight's going down and out. We need to try to keep that weight back. We need to try to stay in this back hip so we can drive that back hip. So trying to keep that knee above that back foot as long as we can, as best we can. Then when we can't, then it's time to start to rotate. Boom. So then now the knee is strong, and we can see how it's locking out, locking out, locking out. We land at foot strike, and we can see knee holding strong, trying to lock out. Okay. Some more here. Kershaw. Back foot. Boom. Back foot. Boom. Back hip. Go forward. Back hips facing first. Start going forward. Start going forward with the back hip. All because the back foot's doing that. Get the knee to do that, which pushes and drives the pelvis forward. Gloves getting to finish. Arms in that 90-ish. Shoulders have not rotated yet. Shoulders have not rotated yet. Gloves starting to finish. Arms in that 90-ish. Back foot. Boom. 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 So we can see all these guys, different heights, different arm slots, different body shapes, different arm slots. But a lot of the same movements with the back leg, because that's the sequence that we need to do in order to get that back hip to start to come forward. So then the throw, boom, out in front and down. Okay. And then we got one more. Jake Arrieta, same thing. Back foot, 90-ish degree. Glove finishing. Belt buckle, back hip getting forward. We take that back. We watch the back foot. Boom. Boom. So then he can release down and out in front. Leg locking out. Front leg locking out. Front leg locking out. Front leg locking out. Boom. Okay, so now here's you guys at your front foot strike position, both from the front view and from the side view. So just take a moment and compare for a second all those different checkpoints we just talked about that the front foot strike position needs to have. So look at your front view, look at your side view, compare and contrast to what you just saw, what you just heard, what you just learned. So if we just go from top row across, Back foot is not quite turned over at all. Not quite turned over at all. It is turned over. Back knee is not really rotated. Wants to rotate. Is pretty much almost all the way rotated. Back hip wants to start to come through but can't. Back hip wants to come through but can't. Back hip is beginning to come forward and through. Front foot to knee. Front foot to knee from the side view looks like it is in a pretty good position. From here, foot to knee, we can see that the kneecap is facing more this direction than it is to the target. We can also tell from your front hip to your front knee is on an angle. So we know that's going to be difficult to maintain this type of positioning without this knee moving. If this knee moves from once this front foot is the ground, we are wasting power. Over here, we can see from knee to foot, looks like it's a pretty good position, but we can see that the foot overly has opened up, which may pose potential issues, but we'll have to see as we go. It may not be any issue, but it could. We look at the front, hip, knee, looks like it's in a good alignment, but then that, like as we can see, that shin kind of comes this way, and then the foot goes back this way. So the heel is not agreeing with the toes and the knee. If the hip, knee, toe, that's in alignment, but the heel we can see is not in alignment. So this could potentially cause some issues, but we'll have to see. From the side view of the knee and shin and foot look like they're in pretty good alignment with one another. We look in the front view and we can see that the knee is maybe a little bit in, but if we can keep it there and just lock it out, we'll be fine. But if it swoops out, we're going to have to land with a better position here with that front knee, because if it swoops, we lose in power. The glove needs to be in a finished position. Getting to it, we can see that's pretty good. The elbow is a little bit extreme outside of our body, but as long as energy doesn't go in that way and we can just bring that elbow in as we finish, we're fine. We can see glove is over here, pretty far away from your body, outside of your body to first base, and we can see what that's doing to your shoulder. It's opening it up. Shoulder's opening up because of where this glove is. Your shoulder is not still in line with your target, and it's because of where this glove is at. The glove started over here, and now it's working over here, and that's gone too far over here, and that's opened your shoulder up. It's also brought your throwing arm through, so you don't have very much upper lower half separation. We can see the glove is in a good spot. The elbow is kind of extremely out, but again, if that just swivels in, we're fine. But if that elbow being way out there is the reason that this front shoulder seems to be wanting to open up a little bit, we would have to think about addressing this elbow some. Okay. Another thing we can see from the side view is just how far at front foot strike this glove still is away from your body. We're thinking more of getting it tighter to the body, like we saw all those other guys where that glove is almost like very near contact with the rib area. So the further this glove is away from the body, as we try to rotate, we're not gonna be able to rotate as quick. It's just like figure skaters, when they go into their fastest rotations, their arms are as tight as the body as possible. The further the arms get, the slower they're gonna go. So if this front arm is far away from your body, as we try to rotate this upper body, it's gonna be a little bit more of a challenging feat to do quickly. Look at the throwing arm. We said we need it to be at a 90-ish degree angle with the ball facing us. We can see that the shoulders are starting to rotate through here. On this particular pitch at front foot strike, this one, they're in a good position. But we can still see that the arm is on this side of your body. We need it to be either behind your head where we can't see it, or we can see it slightly behind your head. Having it over here means that we're starting to open early, or the backside is starting to want to rotate forward. And we don't want any of that shoulder rotation until after front foot strike. We can see, like we talked about over here, same thing. Shoulders are very much starting to open already before we get in that front foot strike. All right, are they overly rotating because the front foot's overly rotating? Could be. Maybe that's something that's paired up in your mind that you don't even know. And that's why I said this front foot could potentially be something we want to think about. All right, we need to make sure we're closed at front foot strike like this. We can't see that T in the 5 tool, but we can see all of your 5 here. We can barely see the bottom of his T, but we can see clearly all of your 5. So that's just how much more your body is rotated open versus here. So the chest is fighting. You can see it in your face. Your face is very, very tense, and you're fighting. And you can see even where's this going? It's going this way. You're holding on for dear life because energy really seems like it's wanting to go over here, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for us to send it straight forward. But we'll see as we continue. All right, so now we talked about all the different checkpoints. Oh, your 90-90 and your 90-90. Forgot, look where your ball's at. It's facing second base. Ball facing second base is a big-time red flag for future arm injuries. Ball should never face second base, especially at front foot strike, because now the wrist has got to rotate more than the shoulders would rotate the arm. So your forearm is facing us, the inside of your bicep is facing us, your chest is facing us. So all purposes, your arms are straight out, and then you just bent the hand up. Okay, your arm is straight across your body, and you just bent the hand up to here, which would mean your hand should be facing us like a high five. You have rotated your wrist backwards 90 degrees. So now your shoulders, which would rotate this arm, this forearm, your hand that should be facing us, as the shoulders rotate, everything with this would rotate with it. So when the shoulders got in line with home plate, so would the inside of the bicep, so would the forearm, and so would your inside of your hand. Your palm would be facing home. But that timing is going to have to not be exactly like that because your hand just now has gotten to us, but we can see how much your upper body is rotated. So now that your upper body gets all the way there, your hand is still trying to get itself into the position it needs to be. And then by the time it gets in the position it needs to be, it's already coming out of it. And that's why it's such a stressful position for your elbow. All right. When the ball comes out of our glove, it falls out of our glove. And where's the hand at? The hand, top of the hand is to us, ball is to third. It has to stay in that position for as long as we can through our arm path. If that hand just starts to open back and go straight back to second, and now the hand comes up with it facing second this whole time, this is just barking at you for a lot of potential arm issues, especially in the elbow, because of how much extra rotation is going on in the wrist. And how we rotate the wrist is the muscles in the forearm. And where the muscles in the forearm connect from our wrist to elbow, bicep, all that stuff in our middle of our arm that goes right into our elbow is getting extreme stress put on it because of where your hand is at during your arm path. Ball falls out, top of the hand stays to us, ball to third. Not top of the hand to second, ball underneath us. Now our hand's on top of the ball, and now the ball's to second base. Top of our hand is to home. That means instead of our arm rotating 90 degrees to be ready to throw, your hand's having to rotate 180 degrees to throw. Those don't add up, and there's so much extra rotation that the hand's going to have to do to catch up that's wherein lies all the stress and potential big issues in your elbow. That and this extreme tilt that we have here is also not good for that elbow. And I believe we're probably getting to that extreme tilt because we need that extra time to get that hand turned over in time. But having this extreme angle is not good for the arm's health, nor is it good for the arm's velocity. We're killing velocity. There's a certain angle. So shoulder straight across, we can call that neutral. Okay. Angles up and down, we call that 90. From neutral or 0, we can get to like 10 degrees and still be strong and healthy. We can get to like 20 degrees and still be strong and healthy. But at a certain degree, we're no longer gaining power and we're losing it. And we're not keeping the arm healthy. We're putting more stress on it. And we can just see your angle of your shoulders is so extreme as you're releasing the baseball compared to some of the lower angles where this arm is in a much better, healthier position at release. because of, I mean, obviously we still got some angle, extreme angle going on here because of that glove, but your glove isn't really causing those angles. It's just your body is just really tilted trying to get this arm out in front, out in front, out in front. Is it that extreme angle because we're compensating from whatever um, made your arm hurt last time and you had to take time off? Are we compensating because of that? And we're trying to get a super high arm slot? Is it because someone told you got to raise your arm slot? Because if we think this is raising the arm slot, it's really not. Because if you just tilt your head so that your trunk here is straight to your perspective, your arm is 90 degrees from temple to neck coming out here. That's 90. Okay, so if we had the ability to swivel this and get you into a position like this, your head would be here and your arm would be like out here. All right, so if you're tilting the shoulders because you're trying to get your arm slot up or higher, this is not how we do it. Okay, if you're doing this because you're trying to compensate for where you got hurt last time, this is definitely not how we want to do it. Okay, so we definitely need to figure out why we have such an extreme angle here. But until then, we definitely got to address the arm path. Hand going back to second is very, 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 very risky. All right, so I'll let these play for a little bit for you guys to see what that then looks like going all the way through. Another guy while watching it through the full thing, arm path. Big time. This is just as big of an issue as what we're seeing over here. Is we do not want the hand to get above the elbow until we're getting into front foot strike. Because once the hand gets above the elbow, it's time to throw the baseball. It is not time to throw the baseball yet, and your hand is above the elbow. So now the hand just has to like hang up here. Hand is just hanging, up here. And because it's now hanging up here, there's no whip to it. There's going to be minimal whip to this arm, and there's no whip, we just push. And that's why we said when we come through here now, it's just a push, kind of just a push, kind of just pushing it. Why is there not a whole lot of ability to get that arm to come back on time for us? Because it's been up, 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 and now we got to drop things down to be able to get things to externally rotate in that arm. All right. This is over here is an extremely compact, super short arm path, but we can see that at least the ball is falling out of the glove and then coming up to come down. Ball is falling out of the glove. We can see the top of his hand. The ball is to first. It stays in that position as he goes through his arm path. Like I said, it's super compact. Super short arm path. There's nothing wrong with this. Okay? Because then the arm can flip up at front foot strike. We just got to make sure, like we said earlier, that we're not opening up at front foot strike. Because then we would have gone from down to up to a good layback to a good throw and through. Nice, whippy, loose arm. This is an arm that's going to stay healthy and fresh once we can stay closed at front foot strike. Opening up is reducing that ability to stay clean and healthy. So we just need our shoulders to be more this direction at front foot strike, and our hands more in this position here and here, while our shoulders are here and here. Our hands are here and here at front foot strike versus now we're at front foot strike and we're in this position. Foot down, then we rotate. Foot down, then we rotate upper body. Rotate the lower body,
then rotate the upper body. Wait for the lower body to rotate, then we rotate the upper body. So we can see then versus that arm path versus how your hand's way up here, 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 up here. Now we got to kind of peel with that front side. We got to peel out to get this arm to start to come forward. And now energy is going more out than it's going forward, putting extra stress on the arm and minimizing velocity. Do a good job keeping the knee back, which helps us turn everything over on that backside. But again, how we're rotating those shoulders is what's worrying me, plus the arm path.